Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. It is Tuesday, July 21st, 2015, and I'm Leanne McAdoo.
And I'm David Knight, and here are our top stories.
Oh, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? My friends all have Lambos. How is a liberal media spinning the new undercover video? Then, military recruiting centers nationwide are receiving threats, and we look at the #1 threat to the environment. All that and more on tonight's Infowars Nightly News.
To celebrate the birth of our country and give a big thanks to all the info warriors out there, we are now offering free shipping on every item shipped out of the InfowarsStore.com warehouse. That's free shipping on all t-shirts, books, and DVDs. Free shipping on Molon Labe and 1776 belt buckles, which are also 25% off while supplies last. Free shipping on all of our InfowarsLife.com nutraceuticals. If it's in the InfowarsStore.com warehouse, it's shipping for free, all during the month of July. It's our way of saying thanks to the true heart and soul of this operation, who stand beside us and support us as we wage an info war for liberty and freedom for all. InfowarsStore.com, free shipping for the month of July.
The allegation that Planned Parenthood profits in any way from tissue donation is not true.
Well, I think Planned Parenthood is going to have a really difficult time talking their way out of this one. Now, a second shock video of a top Planned Parenthood director has surfaced where they're discussing their baby organ trafficking scheme. And, you know, this time I think they're going to have a bit more of a difficult time convincing people it was just about storage costs and transport.
Yeah, there's some very, very interesting admissions in this one. Of course, the liberal media is circling the wagons around them. I call them the Planned Parent herd because that's essentially what they're doing is they're coming in very predictably, defending this, saying there's nothing here, calling them hoaxers, saying this is nothing but corporate espionage. Well, we're going to play some clips and let you decide.
Right. Now, in this newly released video, once again, it was obtained by the Center for Medical Progress, and this is the second video. They said they have 3 in total, so this may not even be the most shocking of all. But this particular video is, again, showing another top official. This is Dr. Mary Garrett. Where's her name? And she's basically the director there of Planned Parenthood. Gatter, I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Mary Gatter.
Mm-hmm.
And she's discussing haggling the price. She's haggling the prices like a used car salesman over these aborted baby parts. Take a look.
What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying?
Okay. I don't think so. I would like to know what would make you happy. What would work for you?
Well, you know, in negotiations, the person who throws out the figure first is at a loss, right? So.
No, I don't look at it that way. I know you want to play that game. I get it, but I want
low ball because I'm used to low things from.
You know what?
Yeah. This is amazing because this is not just. This is compensation. This is profit. This is not recovering her costs.
Yeah.
What would work for you? Don't lowball it.
Okay.
Tell me what you really.
$75 a specimen.
Oh, that's way too low. And that's way too low.
Okay, so you can, it will come out of that. So here she's haggling over the price of this specimen. She doesn't want to lowball it. And I'm sorry, you don't have to lowball your costs. Your costs are your costs. You know what your costs are. And if you're not out to make a profit, you say, well, this is what it's going to cost me.
Exactly. And that's key because the law says that they cannot do it for a valuable consideration of human fetal tissue. And of course, that's one of the things that's so valuable about this particular, these videos is that they like to call it fetal tissue. They like to not refer to it as baby body parts, and you can clearly understand that that's what's going on. When you saw in the last video, they're talking about the heart, the liver, the legs and extremities. We're talking about the parts of developed babies here. And of course, they have to get them at later stages so that the organs are as well defined as possible. That's one of the things that Abby Johnson told us when we talked to her.
Yeah, we spoke to her, and that, you know, they're the little loopholes that they work through in Planned Parenthood. We're going to see this again in this next clip coming up. Basically, after haggling a little bit, they come to the conclusion, you know, that they'll settle on $100. She's like, we're not in it for the money. I just want to make sure it's worth my while, you know. So that's where they settle on that. But then this is where it gets a little bit sticky, because she's blatantly in violation of protocol. She kind of admits it there, and she's sort of describing how they're going to have to work around the protocol to alter the abortion procedure itself, even though, you know, they're not going to tell the women that that's what's happening to them.
Are you looking at 8 and 9 week specimens, or only second trimester specimens?
You know, 10 to 12 week, you know, end of the first trimester. If those are pretty intact specimens, then that's something we can work with.
So that's an interesting concept. Let me explain to you a little bit of a problem, which may not be a big problem.
It may not be a big problem.
Our usual technique is suction at 10 to 12 weeks. And we switch to using an iPass or something with less suction in order to increase the odds that will come out as an intact specimen. Then we're kind of violating the protocol that says to the patient, we're not doing anything different in our care of you. And to me, that's a kind of a specious little argument, and I wouldn't object.
Kind of prevaricating around the bush.
To use an iPass at that gestation stage in order to increase the odds that he was going to get an intact specimen. But I do need to throw it out there as a concern.
As a concern, because, yeah, see, they're saying the patient is signing something, and then we go on to say, yes, indeed, this is the type of care you're going to receive. And of course, we saw in the last video, the other director there, Nucatella, she also mentioned how they would sometimes shift the baby around so that it would come out breech in order to keep the head intact.
And I don't think that they're getting the informed consent of the patient for that. It certainly didn't sound like it when she was talking about that last week. And of course, presenting the baby into a breech birth position, turning it around, is a hallmark of the illegal partial birth abortion procedure.
Right. And that's the other thing you bring up with them using this fetal tissue and everything like that. I mean, I think if they would really explain that to women who, you know, go to check that off, you know, do you mind if this is used for research? If they actually maybe explained it in a way, then you would visualize, oh, wait a minute, you're going to take the intact skull and the liver, and, you know, I mean, it's just, again, they're kind of dancing around the terminology.
Well, it's also very different when you're talking about organ donation, if somebody's killed in an automobile accident or something like that, versus a situation like Planned Parenthood, where they are encouraging women to have an abortion. And let's understand, that's really what is going on here.
Right.
And so when you create a situation and then turn around and profit from it, and we're going to talk about the profit aspect of it here in a moment, because that's the pushback that we're getting from the Planned Parenthood that is defending these people.
Well, let's go to this next clip. It's really short, just because last week, the director of Planned Parenthood came out and finally apologized for the video, but she really just apologized for the tone, and maybe it wasn't correct. So I wonder what she thinks about this tone here.
Some mistakes were made.
And then if we want to pursue this mutually, I'll mention this to Ian in terms of how he feels about using a less crunchy technique to get more whole specimens.
Less crunchy.
Yeah.
Because they need to keep those parts intact there, so she can really get that money.
You know, when they're talking about less crunchy stuff, one of the things that Abby Johnson had said, that she was Employee of the Year, and just before she quit in 2009, in the region, the Planned Parenthood region where she was, the reason she quit, Leanne, was because she saw an ultrasound of the abortion procedure. And this was a 13-week-old fetus that was trying to actively move away from the abortion instrument, and she had been told that they couldn't feel anything. And so when she saw that, the whole thing is based on lies and deception. And that's what we see being spun about this. That's the thing when you're talking about the fact that she quit immediately after that. She became a whistleblower, essentially. a defector, they say, but really a whistleblower as to what's going on. That's what caused her to quit. And now they're talking about the crunchy bits. They're talking about, we want to present them around here so we don't have to crush the thorax, the main part of the body. I mean, this is just gruesome beyond description, and yet these people are profiting from it. They're making a great deal of money just off the abortions. I mean, when she jokes about the Lambo, and that's the clip coming up, you know, that is a joke, but these people are highly paid abortionists.
Right, and you talk about the media circling the wagons. So last I checked, ABC still hadn't even put up a single article about this story. MSNBC said, you know, more of a sting videos to come. This time they could be racially charged. So nothing about them selling baby parts, nothing about joking about, you know, how she wants to get herself a Lamborghini. But then the Daily Beast, their headline is, "Hoaxers fail to nail Planned Parenthood in new video." And so they're basically going and debunking all the things that you supposedly see in the video. Talk about there where she's saying, you know, they were talking about $100, but they never settled on that.
Daily Beast, you know, they use the term hoaxer. They talk about this being corporate espionage and everything. But when we talk about whether or not this is for profit, one of the things that they say in their article, they say, well, U.S. law prohibits valuable consideration of human fetal tissue, but it does allow, they say, and they quote the law, reasonable payments associated with transportation, implantation, processing, preservation, quality control, or storage of human fetal tissue. Now, if you watch this video, you will not see any of those things discussed. That's not a part of any of their of what they're going to provide. They're not going to provide storage, implantation, processing, preservation, transportation. They're not supplying any of that. As a matter of fact, there's a clip, in the interest of time, we won't play it, but there's a clip where the lady is talking about someone from Novogenics. And here's the exact quote of what she says. She says, Heather from Novogenics would come to our site. Heather would look at the tissue. She would take what she wanted. So logistically, it was very, very easy for us. We didn't have to do anything. So there was compensation for this. Now look, that is valuable consideration. That is compensation. They did nothing. They were already paid for the abortion procedure. The lady comes in, she inspects it, she does everything she wants to the baby and then takes the remains with her. They aren't doing anything. So that is selling it. Now, Abby Johnson said, Leanne, that when she looked at this, she says, well, I'm not sure that there's any laws being broken. I think this is possibly a loophole, a gray area. I disagree. I think there are laws that are being broken here, but at the very least, the Center for Medical Progress that did this has at least brought it to the public to understand that maybe there is some more explicit wording that needs to be done. There is a gray area. We are seeing babies ripped apart and sold off for profit. And as we saw last week, they even take pre-orders for this.
Right.
I mean, that's...
and you know, one of the things the Daily Beast is talking about, you know, they never settled on this $100 amount, and it's obviously to deal with the cost, and she's obviously joking when she talks about getting rich off of this. Play that clip.
It's been years since I've talked about compensation, so let me just figure out what others are getting, and if this is in the ballpark, then that's fine. If it's still low, then we can talk about it. You would. What would you do? I want a Lamborghini. I said I want a Lamborghini.
She wants a Lamborghini.
Don't we all, right?
And see, and that's what it is that the Daily Beast said that she never settled on that $100 amount, but she was shocked when they offered her more than the $75 that she put out there. And the lady was like, no, that's way too low. We were going to start at least at 100. And then so she's feeling confident and cocky, and she's like, we'll check and see what the other Planned Parenthood agencies are getting. And if that's too low, then we'll bump it up. So then you can pay us even more for these specimens. So again, no cost. She's just really feeling like, you know, she took this person to the cleaners, and now they're going to be getting this large compensation, possibly being able to buy herself a Lamborghini. Ha, ha, ha. That's such a funny joke.
They're going to recoup their costs. They're going to make a profit, and there's a lot of money in this. As the article from the Washington Times pointed out when they were talking to Abby Johnson, the National Institutes of Health spent $76 million last year funding grants for research using fetal tissue. So some money is going to come from there. But they also point out that Planned Parenthood had revenue of $1.2 billion in 2012 to 2013. About half of that, $540 million, came from government health services grants. That would be your taxpayer money, and reimbursements, which I'm sure is what they're talking about, selling tissue.
Right.
Okay, selling baby parts.
You know, and we know the media is going to do a horrible job covering this, just like they did a horrible job covering the Kermit Gosnell case from last year. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility for parole.
Very little coverage.
He was a doctor. Those are the baby parts. That's what was found in his basement. That's how he's storing baby parts. That's what it's called for fetal tissue. There you can see he would collect these little mementos of babies' feet and keep them in jars in the freezer. And this is how they're storing. And Kermit Gosnell, you know, when he would do these late-term abortions, obviously he would prey on minority and immigrant women. That was the mainstay of his practice. And you know, obviously, probably maybe that's why these women weren't able to say, whoa, this place is disgusting. There is blood everywhere and cat urine and it smells like dead babies. He was making more than $1 million a year because his late-term abortions would cost anywhere between $1,300 and $3,000.
Like I said, they're highly compensated. And you understand that the patient or the government or donor has paid for the abortion. They either have to get rid of the body or they can sell it off as parts for profit. It's the same kind of situation we wind up with the aluminum industry, the nuclear industry, dumping their toxic waste fluoride into our water supply. Otherwise, they'd have to pay as toxic waste to clean it up. But of course, Leanne, they're already spinning this because they know more stuff is coming out, as you mentioned at the beginning. That's the way the media is going to handle this for them. They're going to say, well, now the next thing is they're going to call them racist. We don't have to call them racist. We know what is behind this. There was a story on Drudge Report from the American Mirror saying, Black Lives Matter, really? Well, apparently not in New York City. There were 24,000 babies born in New York City that were black. 29,000 were aborted. And of course, this goes all the way back to Margaret Sanger herself, the Negro Project, saying we want to exterminate the Negroes, but we don't want them to figure this out. If they start to, let's use black ministers to pull this back. This is a long, long history of eugenics and genocide and just flat out murder. Right.
And that's what's disgusting to me is that MSNBC, once again, the media, they're not talking about what the story is. The story is the spin. And so for them, they're basically preparing you for what's going to come out next week, which it's probably, if I had to guess, they're going to be talking about, you know, if you receive more compensation based on race or something like that.
Who knows? I mean, you know, the thing is, Leanne, on the inside, all the babies are the same.
Right.
You know, it's just a skin color issue. But Margaret Sanger doesn't see it that way.
It's disgusting. Well, thank you, David.
Thank you.
Now, coming up, we're going to be talking about an Infowars exclusive. We are getting word of military recruitment centers being actively threatened, and they're still unarmed.
Used since before the days of the Roman Empire to support the body's natural systems and enhance overall health. Introducing the new InfoWarsLife.com oil of oregano formulation, a highly advanced nutraceutical form of this key herb that has been traditionally used by civilizations for thousands of years to promote health. We have now procured the most high quality and potent forms of oregano oil on the market, sourced from top leading manufacturers to ensure a concentrated level of bioactive ingredients. Extracted directly from the wild herb and sealed in easy-to-use capsules, you will no longer need to endure the burning of liquid oregano on the tongue. Wild crafted from the Mediterranean oregano species that experts agree is one of the most powerful and most challenging to acquire. This winter season, it's more important than ever to secure this true form of oil of oregano. Now available in our limited first run at InfoWarsLife.com. That's InfoWarsLife.com or call 888-253-3139.